Hello.
Hello.
Daddy.
Hi. Oh, come tell me something.
Schick mal die von Jamie.
Would the House please come to order? Honorable Secretary General, Deputy Secretary Generals, student officers, distinguished delegates, admins, press, guests, and directors. Welcome to the closing ceremony of the 21st Annual BERMUN2 Conference.
This year, we have once again had the pleasure of being hosted by the Konrad Adenauer Foundation. The cause has welcomed us for many years, and we are once again grateful for their support. We extend our thanks to Dr. Busch-Janser, Herr Bäumel, and Dr. Beugemann, who have helped us tremendously in preparation for the conference in the past few days.
For the past 3 days, you have been deliberating on the various aspects of our theme, Decolonize. In the opening ceremony, we heard from our Solomon Iro keynote speaker, Dr. Luban Repla. We also listened to a speech by Secretary General Meraki Tedesse, who discussed the extent to which the UN's efforts to decolonize have been successful. The 7 committees have debated solutions to their respective topics. Therefore, we would like to invite Frida Katzenstein, one of this year's Deputy Secretary Generals, to take the floor to elaborate and summarize the proceedings of our conference. For nearly 5 years, Frida has been an active and engaged member of the John F. Kennedy School's MUN program, and we have had the pleasure of working with her to plan this conference over the past months. Frida is enthusiastic, she is caring, and has a strong sense of morality, which has been a vital guide for our theme. We are grateful to have worked with her and enjoyed having her on our team. Madam Deputy Secretary General, you now have the floor.
Looking at history today, it seems that empire is the way humans naturally organize society, despite contradicting human rights and other modern values. From the Egyptians, Persians, Han, Greeks, Romans, the Arabs, the Mali Empire, the Turkish Ottomans, the Japanese Meiji Empire, the European colonization of the Americas with Columbus, and the eventual 19th century colonization of Africa. But there's also always been fight for independence. In the UN, efforts to decolonize have been central. But as our SG Meraki has asked, were they successful? If they had been truly successful and completed, we wouldn't still be discussing this. But why not? Why has it been taking so long? Systems, once set into place, perpetuate by passive involvement based on 3 pillars. Economic. Colonizers brought wealth by extracting natural resources, as the MSMUN have surely realized, and by providing free labor through slavery. At what cost? Ironically, heinous crimes against humanity are what brought prosperous development selectively. With a lack of seed capital, ex-colonies cannot autonomously make the investments into infrastructure, industrialization, education, research, and healthcare. These branches are vital for expanding wealth and minimizing monopolized dependency. Therefore, they are needed to achieve a truly sovereign, prosperous, and economically developed state. On top of that, capitalism escalates the divide. The ECOSOC was committed to finding sustainable solutions to the unequal global wealth distribution among countries. So was the Security Council. The humanitarian crisis in Haiti deals with the country's instability that can at least partially be attributed to lacking financial means and debt to France. Even the Suez Canal crisis, discussed by the HSC, is an example of European interference for their own economic benefit at the high cost of other peoples. Secondly, political. As Meraki has stated in her speech, flag independence is symbolic, not necessarily functional. And the arbitrary borders have caused conflict in countries with high ethnic diversity. One example was brought before the ICJ, the Cameroon v. Nigeria dispute over the borders. But the GA3 SOCOM delegates have used their creativity to promote respect, tolerance, and unity. The underrepresentation of former colonies is obvious everywhere, including in the United Nations Security Council. Thirdly and lastly, psychological. The way we think is in parts inherently based on our surroundings. You cannot entirely elude the internalization of discrimination surrounding us. Those three things are what perpetuate the empirical colonization system without our active doings. But by acting, we can break the cycle, bit by bit, because all of us here do have privilege. And as His Excellency Shanika has said, privilege commands responsibility and action. Humanity must guide the thought behind it. Humanity. That means diminish human suffering as much as possible. That means ending the discrimination and oppressive post-colonial control where opportunity, freedom, and dignity are selective. But as Ambassador Shanika has also stated, freedom is an illusion if it is not universal. The same goes for human dignity. But how do we stop this massive machinery? What has this conference contributed? We have all recognized the problem. We have challenged and broadened our own perspectives on the problem, and we have realized responsibility, our responsibility. And finally, step number 4, taking action. You might feel like you've inherited sin without choice, but you aren't guilty if you aren't ignorant to your responsibility. And you do have a choice, every day. To put it into the ambassador's words, we can live by our values, values of freedom and values that honor humanity and dignity. Thank you.
Thank you, Frida, for your detailed remarks reflecting on the work accomplished in the individual committees of the conference, as well as highlighting the agency and responsibilities of individuals in breaking the system.
Another integral part of BERMUN2 is, of course, the student officer team. We will now entertain 1-minute speeches from the student officers of all BERMUN2 committees and forums, discussing the work done on the theme over the last 3 days and recounting their favorite experiences from their committees. First, we will hear from the chairs of the MSMUN, James Salmanovitz, Nova Munson, and David Beller.
Colonialism, like theft, functions through power imbalances. Whether it's a robbery on the U-Bahn or the structures that keep the Global South poor, what allows someone to be taken advantage of, what allows a group to be taken advantage of, is the fact that they have less power. And so that is what we discussed in the middle school MUN with our topic of stopping resource theft. The fact that historically countries that were victims of colonialism and that are rich in the treasures of the earth are still poor today. Now, there's all sorts of things that factor into them being in a weaker position, allowing them to be exploited, whether it's corruption, unfair deals, or local issues with not strong enough civil societies. But the general trend is that they are in a position of weakness. And often, when help came, it was more of a Trojan horse for control, offers of loans or support to build infrastructure to take advantage of the resources kept them dependent. And so trying to break this cycle of control and weakness, trying to even the global playing field between the weak global south and the powerful global north was the task of the MSMUN.
Middle school MUN isn't a committee, it's an army. This couldn't be more true. They battled ferociously at the podium, showed dedication, enthusiasm, and participation, and were an absolute force to be reckoned with. It was many of the delegates' first conference, which we all know can be very intimidating. However, each and every delegate spoke at least 4 times or more, exceeding all expectations. They passed an impressive amount of 30 clauses and asked over 190 POIs. Our lobbying was productive, and the debates that followed did not disappoint, discussing the very real issues like corruption, economic dependence, and coercion, which are all vital to the topic of resource theft. Now, I would also like to express my gratitude to my fellow chairs, David and James, for making this the best first chairing conference I could have asked for. But I especially want to thank the MSMUN, with whom it was never a dull moment, always an exciting and engaging debate, who taught me so many lessons along the way and always kept me on my toes, and for whom it was an absolute delight to be cheering for. Thank you.
When we began this conference, the Middle School MUN committee had 3 things: high expectations, strong positions, and not enough chairs. Not metaphorically, but physically. Our delegates therefore recommended that we, as student officers, should just sit on top of each other because we are chairs ourselves. Then, 8 minutes into our first day, we received our first committee observation. You guessed it, it was a 6-7 joke. And that moment, we expected chaos. We expected more of those memes. Yet, that was our only real incident. No more 6-7 after that, because despite the memes, despite the missing tables, and despite the heated debates about opening a window, this committee proved to be far more mature than expected at first. Thank you to our wonderful committee admins, Charlotte, Lila, Jack, and Talia, for everything you've done. Now, delegates of the MSMUN, I hope the live stream is working properly. Please rise for this well-deserved round of applause. And delegates, make it loud enough so they can actually hear you, because they're on the 2nd floor.
Thank you for your extensive and detailed remarks.
Next, we will hear from the presidents of the Security Council, Keo Kasper, Benjamin Mosseri, and Lara Luhrmann.
When I first heard the topic of BERMUN was going to be decolonize, I was less than impressed. I thought colonialism was not a modern issue, and if so, not one of importance. However, when preparing for the Security Council, while studying Haiti, I finally understood the massive prevalence it carries. Because of past exploitation, extraction, and expropriation, Haiti has become the poorest and hungriest country in the Western Hemisphere. In this case, not only has it started one step behind in the race for development, but also was handicapped from the start. This handicap was debt from the former colonizers France. This debt amounts to $30 billion in modern currency. And even after losing the race, one might think this was the end of Haitian exploitation. However, since the takeover of gangs of Haiti's capital and Haiti's inability to defend itself, there have been reports of the Dominican Republic exploiting Haitian farmers and farmers on the border of the 2 nations. Because of the plight of Haiti, now I know I didn't dislike the conference theme because it wasn't good or important, but because I didn't and still don't fully understand its depth. My hope is that now we are beginning to understand these issues more clearly and grasp them for what they truly mean. Thank you.
In order to address the situation in Haiti, which Benjamin elaborated on, our 16 delegations brought forward a very large amount of preambles and operative clauses, of which we debated 35. The final resolution we passed includes 19 whole operative clauses, which is quite a lot for the Security Council. The preamble established some common ground and acknowledges the detrimental impact of Haiti's history of colonial exploitation, which has had an impact on its development, and reiterates as well the importance of previously established initiatives. And now on to the more interesting part of the resolution. The United Nations Security Council demands the guaranteed delivery of humanitarian aid and establishes much-needed mechanisms to fight corruption and gang violence, and also improve the public health system. Furthermore, we intend to strengthen the Haitian democracy sustainably, and we also have established that Haitian state authority must not ever be undermined by international actors. Throughout the 3 days of hard work, our delegates have, in our opinion, succeeded in reaching consensus on much needed measures regarding this situation in Haiti. Thank you.
Can we get a moment of silence for the Dominican Republic getting frame-mogged by that speech? While our delegates did eventually succeed in reaching a consensus, committee observations like this one livened up our committee vibes as delegates faced complex problems, had heated discussions, before coming to solutions at the end of the day. Our complex problems included the best way to fold a veto threat into a paper airplane and the fastest speed walking technique for our morning round of Duck Duck Goose. We had heated debates on when the UK should give their tap dancing tutorial and how to get the best revenge on the ICJ for being too loud. And our solutions ranged from improving minority access to education to stationing intercontinental ballistic missiles in Panama. And despite the fact that Haiti is referred to as the worst hunger emergency in the Western Hemisphere, delegates were seriously concerned about an imminent obesity crisis and suggested to give its political system a gym membership to get it back in shape. None of this would have been possible without an unappreciated and overlooked part of BERMUN, the admins, which is why we would like to sincerely thank our committee admin, Maria, for her invaluable support in keeping our committee running smoothly. This has been an unforgettable conference for all of us chairs, and we are incredibly grateful for all those who have made it possible. So now, delegates of the Security Council, please rise. This is your applause.
Thank you for your remarks and interesting references.
The next speech will be given by the presidents of the International Court of Justice, Karma Zilberqueit and Maxime Schnabel.
Distinguished participants and guests of the 21st Annual BERMUN2 Conference. During this year's conference, the International Court of Justice, with regards to our conference theme, Decolonize, deliberated on the case the land and maritime boundary between Cameroon and Nigeria. There has been a long-running territorial dispute between these two countries, especially around the area of Bakassi Peninsula. This dispute dates back to the colonial-era border establishments, during which the Bakassi Peninsula was under German colonial control. Cameroon has stated their support to invoke colonial-era treaties to define borders and establish Bakassi Peninsula as their own sovereign territory, while the advocates of Nigeria state that the inhabitants of Bakassi are inherently their citizens and a part of their country, after their continuous support of the inhabitants and the region itself. After extensive deliberation over the past 2 days, the ICJ has ruled in favor of Nigeria and declares that the Republic of Cameroon has not fulfilled the burden of proof. the court determines that colonial-era treaties shall be reevaluated and that Bakassi Peninsula is considered Nigerian territory. As a result of this decision, the judges were directed to write opinions on the case. These will be published on our committee page for those interested. And now we will be hearing from my brilliant co-president, Maxime.
Captivating speeches, compelling evidence, and charming witnesses. Of course, I'm talking about our debate on whether the ocean is a soup. After testimony from Chef Gordon Ramsay himself, the verdict was clear. The ocean is in fact a soup, and please adjust your lifestyles accordingly. The ICJ gave us endless moments to remember, from being occasionally distraught by the Security Council's noisy enthusiasm to seriously debating whether 3 of our judges were siblings or secretly dating. We truly did it all. We even heard a fascinating story about Karl Marx's grave being covered with labubus. What a paradox. Accents became a focal point of discussion in our committee. Our friends from London were especially asked to demonstrate their finest British accents, and I bravely attempted both British and Texan, and y'all, it did not go as planned. Maybe that's for the better. You know, I failed miserably twice. Perhaps that was for the best. Anyway, is it biscuits or cookies? Our judges had heartfelt opinions about that. But on a more serious note, could someone please give our Cameroonian advocates cough drops? My God. Now to those who made this possible. Thank you to our advocates for months of extensive preparation, to our admins for their constant support, and to our witnesses for their dedication and sacrifice of their committee time. Thank you to Gordon Ramsay, and most importantly, thank you to our president of the ICJ, Karma, for being a miraculous chair and for making this such a memorable experience. And without further ado, judges and advocates of the ICJ, please rise. This is your applause.
Thank you for your remarks.
We will now be hearing from the presidents of the Economic and Social Council, Hamilton Turner, Frida Tischbier, and Marina Leitner.
We may all be floating on the same sea, but some of us are floating on super yachts, while others are clinging to the floating debris. This quote was said by Antonio Guterres, United Nations Security General, which encapsulates the topic of the Economic and Social Committee, wealth inequality. Wealth inequality does not just affect countries economically. It fuels political and social instability and issues. Historically, there were many structures set in place that exploited colonized countries and mainly benefited the colonial powers. These frameworks affect a person's opportunity in all aspects of life. This only further keeps the cycle of poverty and inequality. Because of this, we must recognize the present-day systems and historical consequences that contribute to wealth inequality. We must strive towards finding middle ground and sharing wealth, so that instead of floating on either a super yacht or debris, a lifeboat can be provided for all. Thank you.
$130, $60, 100%, 3. The ECOSOC had an astounding 120 POIs, with 60 strong amendments, 100% participation, and all 3 passed resolutions. Delegates of the ECOSOC worked faster and more efficiently than any other committee I've chaired before. They discussed neocolonial debt systems, resource extraction, combating illicit financial flows and tax havens, indigenous rights, and much more. As Marina said, wealth and income inequality is one of the most pressing and challenging issues of today, and I'm truly amazed as for how well you all work together to find solutions, all while linking it to the broader theme of decolonization. I'm extremely proud to be your president.
As the Economic and Social Council, we must often ask ourselves, what is our committee's real name? It definitely isn't Eco-Suck. So is it Eco-Tough, Eco-Sus, or is it better we refer to ourselves as the elite committee of superiority over other committees? Aside from conducting a remarkable debate, our delegates submitted more than 25 pages of committee observations. Not only did they include requests for my co-chair Hamilton to demonstrate his very real backflipping skills, but also there were way too many ships for my liking. Delegates, we thank you again for lively Just Dance routines, in which the whole committee participated by dancing and singing with more enthusiasm than we've ever seen. Additionally, our committee had the pleasure of being entertained by impressive catwalking skills, paper airplane competitions, and many love confessions to our admin. And let's not forget the star of the show, a heated rivalry with the middle school MUN, fueled by absurd committee observations, which were later settled over an angelic joint choir. Furthermore, we'd like to extend our thanks to our motivated and incredibly helpful committee admin, Rosie Winger, for keeping our committee in order and running without flaw. Delegates of ECOSOC, we could not have imagined a more committed and motivated group of talented individuals. And with that, delegates and of course admins of ECOSOC, please rise. This applause is for you.
Thank you for your enlightening remarks and the renaming of your committee.
The next set of speeches will be coming from the chairs of the Special Political and Decolonization Committee. Clement Schmidt, Ulrika Moss, and Jonathan Lugani, please approach the podium.
Colonialism has not vanished. In Western-based social, political, economic structures, our language, the way we think and act, neo-colonial ideas keep spreading and swallowing us whole. The impacts of these ideas are most apparent on the African continent, as portrayed in our committee's topic, post-colonial responsibility for current inequalities and injustices in Africa. Even with this knowledge, however, former colonizers have still not given back what isn't theirs. Think of France's failure to send reparations to Algeria, Germany's failure to send reparations to the Herero and Nama people, and the UK's failure to send back cultural artifacts to former colonies. So finally, to ease the tensions, most of us in this room will have to listen, because only through listening to colonized countries can we, as a society, create equality.
South Africa should be part of the Security Council. Maybe. This was one of the many ideas that delegates had to achieve more equality in a world past colonialism. While delegates discussed these very important issues, we also had other debates about issues such as coffee versus tea and about the amount of cortisol in our committee. While there was a lot of work and important work going on, we also just felt really proud of our committee. When we, on the first day, asked our delegates if they had been to an MUN conference before, many of them didn't raise their hand. Many of them hadn't gone to a conference before. Yet at the end, one could really see improvement. Many delegates spoke very confidently. Many delegates were able to represent their country's policy well. But we also had a lot of funny things going on.
Studies show that Model United Nations increases cortisol stress levels by up to 60%. Not in the GA4. Our delegates found a spiritual balance between passionate debate and inner peace. Yoga in the morning, meditation in the afternoon, and dancing in the evening. We sat in a circle, turned down the lights, turned on sounds of mindfulness, and chanted this year's conference theme, Decolonize. Period. Decolonize. Period. Decolonize. Period. On that note, thank you to our admin, Anna, and thank you to you, delegates, for making this year's GA4 so fun. Now, will the delegates of the GA4 please rise? This is your applause.
Thank you for your leadership and your enlightening remarks.
The next speech is from the presidents of the Historical Security Council, Benno Thomas, Ilham Baudet, and Lea Huizenbeck.
In 1956, a small strip of water forced free global powers onto their knees. This strip of water is the Suez Canal, of which the 1956 crisis was the focus of this year's HSC. The Suez Canal is one of the major waterways of the world, connecting Europe and Asia, thus being one of the main arteries of the global economy. Prior to 1956, the canal was operated and controlled by the Anglo-French Suez Canal Company, which was viewed more and more critically as a heavy anti-colonial sentiment spread throughout Egypt, headed by Egypt's authoritarian leader Gamal Abdel Nasser. This culminated in the Egyptian government nationalizing the canal, leaving France and the UK fearing for their global interests and their sphere of influence. A conspiracy with Israel followed, who invaded the Sinai Peninsula under pretense with the Anglo-French so-called peacekeeping troops following shortly, who conducted military air raids along the canal. The whole crisis represented an effort from France and the UK to regain their grasp on their slipping colonial power and was a turning point for ever-shifting world order.
We can't trust Egypt. This sentiment was expressed by the delegate of Australia to the delegate of Egypt, which perfectly summarized the heated rivalry, in all sense of the term, between the two nations, with all delegates considering to what extent a newly formed, seemingly unpredictable Egyptian government should be trusted with the full responsibility over one of the most important waterways globally, and how, and if at all, previous colonial powers, Britain and France, should have power over their former territories and investments. Through grueling debate until the last minutes, with numerous paper airplanes flying through our committee room, resulting in 7 P5 caucuses, and we had a plethora of amendments and vetoes on even non-controversial Type 1 clauses. The delegates were finally able to pass the majority of their preambulatory clauses, 6 Type 1 clauses, and 4 Type 2 clauses, ultimately culminating in our past Historical Council resolution on the Suez Canal crisis on October 31st, 1956.
Between detailed clauses and new frameworks, the delegates also involved themselves in fiery debates. The delegate of Egypt especially stood out with very empathetic and well-thought language, but also with quotes like, "Our President Nasser was democratically elected with 99% approval." Another delegate that posed the perfect rival for Egypt was Australia, with quotes like, "We think that the Commonwealth countries are the only ones that struggle, and we are the real victims." As Benno already indicated, on our gossip page, someone created the missing heated rivalry connection, which I also believe describes their relationship perfectly. During punishment,
we started slowly on Friday with a small and maybe a bit unmotivated karaoke session, which, however, got far more interesting today when the delegate of Australia not only proposed, but right after also married the delegate of Egypt, even shedding a small tear. And while our admins stayed strong, fighting the air passage when opening the windows, exactly that caused the delegate of Belgium to magically blow a wall panel on the opposite of the room to the ground when she came into the room. However, at this point, we would like to give a big thank you to our admins, and especially to our committee admin Hannah, which were there to help our committee stay organized, harmonious, and fed with fresh air at all times. Thank you. With that, we'd like to especially thank all delegates for your eager participation and for all the fun we had with you. Delegates of the Historical Security Council, please rise. This is your applause.
Thank you.
Next, we will hear from the chairs of the Social, Humanitarian, and Cultural Committee, Susanna Skinner, Barry Tabachnikov, and Matis Mubius.
No, we will not give ethnic groups equal voices. Instead, selected groups will be given dominance over political and economic landscapes, said colonizers 100 years ago. But can 2,000 peoples be successfully split up into only 54 member states, as it is in Africa, and all be given an equal voice? Or can the 140 ethnicities of Myanmar live in harmony in a multi-ethnic state when Muslim minorities are being denied citizenship and persecuted? As of now, the answer is no. That is why this year's SOCUM committee was addressing post-colonial ethnic divides. Only by reevaluating their institutions, by fostering dialogue between divided groups, and by embracing their ethnic plurality can member states bridge ethnic divides and decolonize today. We did not unite ethnic groups, but we will.
Let's change the name of Mexico to Southern Texas. We understand that this idea might sound absurd, but for the SOCUM committee, this was a highly debated and plausible amendment. Besides the renaming of territories, our committee used its time wisely, creating 3 thoughtful and innovative resolutions on our issue. Although our debate started a bit sparse, our committee truly grew into a group of strong and capable speakers. Although largely comprised of delegates new to MUN at their first conference, SOCUM ended with a near 100% participation rate, as well as the growth and development of so many debaters. In the end, we passed all 3 of our resolutions. So although we didn't add a new name to territories, we did add new solutions to the problem of post-colonial ethnic divides.
Everyone talks, everyone thinks they know marriage, but I cause the greatest marriage, says Donald Trump after officiating not 1, but 2 whole marriages in the SOCUM committee, with a folded paper functioning as a ring. Besides marriage, this year's SOCUM was entertained with multiple punishments, including not only a beautiful performance of Hot and Cold by delegates and my co-chair, or my head chair Susanna showing off her favorite dance moves amongst beautiful improvised singing, but also ASMR on the mics, and of course, brilliant Just Dance performances of Golden. We also entertained a debate on whether tiramisu was better than lava cake for breakfast. That was actually then carried out in over 400, that was then carried out in our 400 committee observations we received. These included poems that were as beautiful as that we commonly agreed that Australia needed to be colonized. We witnessed such vigorous shipping of everyone, even going as far as shipping siblings throughout committee. So we feel very proud of this year's delegates of the SOCOM, and therefore ask our wonderful committee admin Ella and the delegates of the Social, Humanitarian, and Cultural Committee to please rise, because this is your applause.
Thank you, Chairs, for your remarks.
Finally, we will hear from our press co-editor-in-chiefs, Zoe Lehman and Nola Hiller.
Dear delegates, honorable chairs, dear secretariat members, beloved admin, and guests, widespread Eurocentric viewpoints have been a highly influential force in our society, leading to distorted truths and in turn making it clear how powerful journalism can be. When utilized properly, it can be a voice for those who do not have one. It can cultivate more nuanced perspectives and create discussions that aim to elevate rather than repress. By challenging institutionalized biases, journalism has the power to reject false narratives and reveal hidden realities. By prioritizing a multifaceted outlook and including the voice of silenced populations, journalism has the potential to be a stepping stone to change, a tool that encourages mutual appreciation. Our team has worked diligently to encapsulate the very change that has been promoted during this conference as a whole, creating thought-provoking content on the challenges that correlate with decolonization. The press team would have never achieved as much without our press advisors, Mr. Robertson and Ms. Cup, who encouraged and oversaw the entire editing process. It has been a wonderful experience and a great pleasure of mine to have been able to lead them along my fellow editor-in-chief, Nola. Their hard work and dedication continue to impress me, and for that, I express my sincerest gratitude.
I can't begin to describe my appreciation for Zoe, working alongside such a wonderful chief editor and great friend. She guided me through my first conference as editor-in-chief, generously going so far as attempting couples yoga and dancing to Michael Jackson with me to decompress after a long day of editing. This conference theme wasn't an easy one, seeing as it challenged the press members to write and report about such a broad topic. But nonetheless, the resilience of the press team is truly admirable. I feel honored to have co-led such a special and talented team. They work exceptionally hard. Our reporters, text editors, and talented layout artists have managed to create the BERMUN Times, which we cherish deeply. Our photographers and videographers have invested an incredible amount of time and passion capturing the atmosphere shared at BERMUN. Press team, I love working alongside all of you. My hope for everyone sitting here is that the press team made you smile as much as they have made us smile, and that the memories of this conference never fade. So will the members of the press team please rise? This is your applause.
Thank you, student officers, for your hard work in committees and before the conference. We've enjoyed the process of working with you, and we will never forget our long meetings and extended preparation sessions. A big thanks for your commitment, professionalism, and intense shaking of your body, as our PGA Julian has said, in our morning meetings will always be remembered and will be very much appreciated by us as Secretariat and the directors. Now, I would like to introduce Julian Falk, our President of the General Assembly, with whom we've had the pleasure of working with since December to create this year's BERMUN2 conference. Julian has been a dedicated and passionate member of our MUN program for nearly 2 years. His constant optimism and occasional jokes, balanced with his calming advice, have shaped our long meetings and this wonderful preparation for our conference. Mr. President of the General Assembly, you now have the floor.
Western aid comes in many forms, such as 1, grants, which must not be repaid. 2, loans with conditions to repay them. And 3, foreign direct business investment. When foreign aid is done well, it is development. When it is done poorly, it is neocolonial. My question today will be, is Western development aid neocolonial? Let us consider 3 examples. First, Germany. In 2017, under German leadership, the G20 launched a compact with Africa in an effort to promote private investment on the continent. It brought together African governments, international organizations, and G20 countries. However, the agreement was primarily drafted by non-African institutions, which raises the question as to whether the priorities reflected African economic values. The model fosters privatization, deregulation, and reinforces structural adjustment programs. Critics argue that this approach creates dependency and fortifies African nations to be an exporter of raw materials rather than diversified industrial powers. Although the German Society for International Cooperation, known as the GIZ, gives grants for sustainable development, education, and health initiatives, German investment is not only out of charity. The 2017 Compact with Africa encouraged direct foreign investment from private companies. Such firms seek stable markets, resource access, and profit. Can privatization be a structural adjustment aid requirement? Can private German companies profit in foreign direct investment? Most importantly, is this initiative neocolonial? Before answering these questions, let us look at a second example, USAID. In 1961, President John F. Kennedy created the United States Agency for International Development, known as USAID. It built food systems, trained health workers, and funded one of the largest disease eradication efforts in the world. Since then, millions of lives have been saved through vaccination campaigns, malaria prevention, and HIV treatment. A source from the London School of Economics suggests that USAID creates dependency and promotes a capitalist agenda. Meanwhile, the freezing of funding in 2025 to USAID has contributed to more than 20,000 deaths for lack of treatment. The Lancet Medical Journal estimates that these cuts will cause 14 million additional and preventable deaths by 2030. Was the cutting of US aid an effort of decolonization? Would the persistence of aid be neocolonial? Before answering these questions, let us consider one last example. The IMF acts as the world's financial firefighter, providing short-term conditional loans to member states which experience severe economic distress. These conditions often include privatization, direct foreign investment, and forcing countries into austerity measures. Here is what we need to know. When countries are in economic freefall, that is when they turn to the IMF. Critics argue that many IMF interventions mirror colonial tendencies, and exacerbate inequalities through debt trap diplomacy and economic dependence. But what are we meant to do when a country is in economic freefall? Do we just give them grants, free aid money, or is it loans? To understand this point further, I would like to make use of two more examples. Firstly, Zambia. In the 1990s, Zambia implemented IMF-backed reforms such as rapid privatization and cuts to government spending. However, these neoliberal measures led to higher unemployment, weakened social services, and increased inflation. In the end, Zambia was left heavily indebted and inequality exacerbated. It was in part for these reasons that long before this took place in Zambia, that the former Ghanaian president and leader of the Pan-African movement, Kwame Nkrumah, labeled the IMF a neo-colonial institution in the 1960s. Fast forward to 50 years later in 2014, Kwame Nkrumah's Ghana was on the verge of financial collapse when the IMF's help was requested. According to the former financial minister of Ghana, IMF loans have helped stabilize the currency and economy, supporting the cutting of corrupt and wasteful spending. These initiatives resulted in economic growth increasing to 8% year-round, and inflation rates falling below 10%. That stabilization allowed Ghana to reinvest in social services and development infrastructure. So, is Kwame Nkrumah, the scholar who coined the term neocolonialism, correct to label Western development aid as neocolonial? Was the economic disaster that made Ghana turn to the IMF the fault of colonialism or post-colonial corrupt mismanagement? According to the UNHCR, it was primarily the latter. So, is the IMF fundamentally serving Western interests? Although many of us in this forum today, including myself, say yes, the Heritage Foundation, a conservative think tank that heavily influences current American government policy, in their Project 2025 initiative, says definitively no. The Heritage Foundation encourages the abolishment of the IMF, the World Bank, and the World Trade Organization because it doesn't serve Western interests. Time will tell if that happens. So, what exactly is decolonization? This is a question that we, the Secretariat, have been asking ourselves since the beginning of the conference, and the question we asked in our Secretariat letter. In short, I don't know with certainty if the answer is a zero sum. Before coming to this conference, I read a book called The New Age of Empire. The author, Kahindra Andrews, makes a compelling argument that Western institutions primarily served white Western countries because of their underlying racist, capitalist, and Western selfish tendencies. Additionally, the knowledge I had of the IMF and World Bank interventions was shaped in response to what they had done in Turkey, my mother's home. In conclusion, is dismantling Western-led development initiatives decolonization? When the Trump administration dismantled USAID, was that decolonization? My answer is that I think we each have the responsibility to listen to the victims of colonialism, to think critically. And as the Namibian ambassador said when he quoted the UN Charter, we, the people of the United Nations, determined to save succeeding generations from the scourge of war, to reaffirm faith as a fundamental human right, to establish conditions under justice and respect, and to promote social progress and better standards of living in larger freedom, have resolved to combine our efforts to accomplish these aims. Thank you.
Thank you, Julian, for your remarks on the events of the conference, as well as your critical thoughts and questioning of when Western aid leads to progress and prosperity. Please accept this token of our appreciation. To reflect on what on the work and that has been done over the conference days, the press team has put together a closing video. Please direct your attention to the screen.
Te miré y contarte las cosas que no te conté y tirarte las fotos que no te tiré. Ey, tengo el pecho pelado, me dio una mata, el corazón dándome pata. Dime, baby, ¿dónde tú estás? Pa' llegarle con Roro, Julito, Cristal, Roy, Edgar, Seba, Oscar, Darnell y Big J tocando bata. Hoy la calle la dejamos es barata. Y sería cabrón que tú me toques el guiro. Yo veo tu nombre y me salen suspiros. No sé si son petardos o si son tiros. Mi blanquita, perico, mi kilo. Yo estoy en PR, tranquilo.
What's your favorite memory of BERMUN?
The bromance between Barry and Mattis. For sure.
Wait, do we say it on three? The punishment!
A couple years ago, my first conference, like 2 years ago, where I was a first-time delegate, and I remember I was really nervous, and someone came up to me, and they offered to help me. They just generally gave me some tips that were really, really helpful, and I still remember them to this day.
The wedding officiated by Trump!
My favorite memory of BERMUN was the lobbying time, meeting everyone, getting to know them, discussing.
Probably catwalking through the room. Yeah.
My favorite BERMUN memory is the P5 caucus and the vetoes in Security Council.
My favorite BERMUN memory is when the Namibian ambassador lifted up the mug and the flowers at the end of his speech.
The punishments are funny?
Couples yoga with you!
Otros 11 bonitas que veo en San Juan, disfrutando de todas esas cosas que extrañan los que se van, disfrutando de noches de esas que ya no se dan, pero queriendo volver a la última vez. Ya los ojos te miré y contarte las cosas que no te conté. Te pareces a mi crush. Y tirarte las fotos que no te tiré. Pecho brote, el lindo, déjame tirarte una foto.
May the house please come to order.
Lego shotty, but she come from Ghana. She's too innocent, I'm afraid to harm her. Now she's worried and I'm telling her, keep it calm. Now she's good with me and I call that karma. Now she's crying to her mama. Now she's crying to her baba. I don't worry, I don't bother with.
Debí tirar más fotos de cuando te tuve. Debí darte más besos y abrazos las veces que pude. Ey, ojalá que los míos nunca se muden. Y si hoy me emborracho, pues que me ayuden. De cuando te tuve, debí darte más besos y abrazos las veces que pude. Ojalá que los míos nunca se muden. Y si hoy me emborracho, pues que me ayuden. Ey, hoy voy a estar con abuelo todo el día, jugando dominó. Si me pregunto si aún pienso en ti, yo le digo que no. Que mi estadía cerquita de ti ya se terminó. Ey.
Thank you to the BERMUN2 press team for your engaging videos. You made us laugh and added a lighter touch to our conference, even though we were discussing such a heavy topic. We can't even imagine how many hours you spent drafting ideas, filming, and editing. Thank you for your contributions. In conjunction, we would also like to thank the press team for their articles, journalistic insight, active Instagram, and good cheer that they bring to BERMUN2.
We would like to take this time to extend our gratitude to everyone involved in making this year's BERMUN2 possible. First and foremost, we would like to thank all of you. As delegates, your preparation, professionalism, and enthusiasm has allowed this year's conference to be a success in all forums. Of course, none of us would be here if it weren't for each of our directors. We thank you for your commitment and all of the time you've spent to provide this opportunity to your students. From registration to preparing your delegates' research and writing resolutions, we would not be successful without your guidance and support. Let's take this moment to extend our gratitude to each of our directors who have given up their time to travel with you and be with us today.
We would particularly like to thank our BERMUN2 directors for their work ethic and extra hours they have spent with and for us in shaping BERMUN2 2026. Their hard work has truly paid off, and we could not be more thankful to them. We would especially like to emphasize the contribution of Ms. Robertson, our conference manager. From conference communication to ensuring that the platform functions properly and reminding us of the many deadlines, Ms. Robertson has been an essential part of our team. Thank you for your incredible commitment to the conference and to us.
Often behind the scenes, the admins took care of so much that it is hard to name it all. With every challenge we face, these committed individuals take on the front line, making sure our committees are well fed and organized. For their relentless efforts, they deserve the thanks of everyone and anyone who has participated in BERMUN2.
We would like to emphasize this thanks to the admin team, especially the heads of admin, Nomi and Lindy, and especially to the rest of the team. Please take another round of applause for all your hard work. We'd once again like to thank our student officers for all of their brilliant work and all of your wonderful speeches. Please give them one round of applause to make sure that they are all appreciated just as much as we appreciate them.
Another vital yet below the radar organ of BERMUN2 is the tech team. They have run all our live streams, namely the opening ceremony and this closing ceremony. Therefore, we extend our gratitude to the tech team.
At this point, we would like to thank Alexander Gintar and the entire team from MUN World for the conference platform that we all used.
Over the last few days, it has been a pleasure to witness the work of this conference. All of your contributions helped make this BERMUN2 the success it was. For that, we thank you. We will now be distributing certificates to each school. Delegates that held speeches in the opening ceremony, please approach the dais to receive your certificates when we call on your school's name. Please ensure that only one delegate per school, preferably the ambassador, approaches the dais. Please do not distribute these to your fellow participants now, but rather wait until after the closing ceremony. The order of school is as follows.
Albert Einstein Gymnasium. Anne Frank Gymnasium. Arndt Gymnasium. Berlach Lyceum. Berlin Cosmopolitan School. Canisius Kolleg. CJD Christophorus Schule. Cologne International School. Drei-Linden-Gymnasium.
Oops. Yeah, that would be ideal. Thank you.
Did we already have Drei-Linden-Gymnasium? Okay. Evangelische Schule Frohnau.
Mendelssohn Bach-Holdibe Gymnasium. Goethe-Gymnasium. Das Innerstädtische Gymnasium Rostock. International School of Kigali. John F. Kennedy. The John Lennon. Johann Gottfried Herder Gymnasium. Katholische Schule Liebfrauen. Die katholische Theresienschule. Kimballton School. The Nelson Mandela School. Paul Pretorius Gymnasium. Das Primo Levi Gymnasium. Das Rheingau Gymnasium. Das Schiller Gymnasium. SIS Paris West. The London Oratory School.
Noch eins? Das letzte?
And last but not least, das Werner von Siemens Gymnasium.
With that, we have now reached the end of our conference. Thank you all for your hard work, and we hope to see some of you back at the next conference. It is now my distinct honor to declare the 21st Annual BERMUN2 Conference as officially closed.
Before you leave, we have a few brief announcements. As you leave the class, if you still have your plastic badge holders, please return them at the merch table or to an admin once you exit the plenary. We also have a country pin buyback program. The pins you receive during registration are yours to keep. However, if you think you will never use the pin again, consider trading in your pin for €1. Alternatively, you can donate your euro to a cancer charity in memory of our former Secretariat member, Solomon Iro. Last year, we donated €50 to the Kinderkrebshilfe Berlin in Solomon's name. BERMUN will match any donations made at the merch table. Please see a member of the admin team for assistance. If you are interested in the pictures from the press team, you can find the QR code to them on the BERMUN press page. Instagram, if you do not understand what I mean. Finally, merch will be sold at the merch table for the next 30 minutes.
As you leave, we hope that you will enjoy the music and beats from the BERMUN legend Tony O'Dani. Thank you, and get home safe.